I wouldn't. I would not.
I'm out here recommending crotch lights because I'm gangster with it.
Okay, I'm streaming at 720 today, which really sucks, but it seems to be better if I do. Okay, I'm going to hit the stream button.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Oh, that's why I don't have my webcam.
Hello, hello. Hello, everybody watching. There may not be many watching. This is a kind of weird time for me. Let's see if we can get this thing working.
It's gonna be the most popular show ever.
Now, it's
Is my mic loud enough?
Do it. Have a little.
You seemed all right.
Yeah, you seemed okay.
Low,
Really?
Yeah, you're
Is that
good.
better?
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
All right,
you can
let's.
actually see Dazza now.
I'm still getting errors
Oh,
even
okay.
at 720. This is stupid.
Have you tried turning it off and back on again?
Yeah, I've tried everything. I don't know what it is. Australia's having internet problems, I think.
Looks like
I'm getting buffering on the stream. I'll just double check.
Trying not to spill my hot toddy over here all over my keyboard.
Yeah, it's buffering and Will's just gone. What
yeah,
color
I'm here.
is that?
Can you hear me?
Can hear you, but you're just like your color
hear
is
you, but
crazy.
It looks like a.
I know what's going on.
It looks like the background to a Nintendo game.
Now, Dazza, are you going to have audio, or is it just are we just going to watch you eat your cereal?
Still can't hear you.
We don't hear you, buddy. So I'm still getting buffering. Still getting buffering.
I'm going to. Check 1 2. So are we live on the air right now?
We are. We're streaming, and it's
Okay.
it's complaining to me that I'm apparently buffering. I'm getting like a yellow light on my thing, which is stupid
I
because
wanted to bring up the YouTube video as well so that I can see the chat. And also, I'm gonna just warn everybody now that I'm using a new mic just because I literally just got it and I wanted to test it out. So.
Oh, what did you got?
Yeah.
What is it?
This is the Dynamic. What is it? The M88 TG, which I'll be primarily using it as a kick drum mic, but it's a nice mic for vocals and everything too. But it has a really nice low frequency response on it, and it's really got fast transient response. So I wanted to mess with it in a context like this for a minute just to see how it compares, and also to get used to the proximity effect on it, because
yeah, right.
when you use it for talking, like, you know, we're so used to hearing our voices and how your voice sounds that it's a really good way to gauge proximity effects, so that when I use it with the drums, I'll be like, okay, well, I know like right around this spacing is where I hear that kick up, and you know.
Yeah, I think we'll just persevere with the connection. Now, let's get proceedings going, even though it's whinging at me saying that the streaming is balking every 2 seconds. I don't even know why. But how about this for a graphic? Yes, that's right. You have reached the bizarre time zone of Australia and the USA. See, I've even got the really cool effects. Yeah, so how does this time zone fit for you guys in the US? Is it a good time zone? It's evening on the East Coast, and I guess it's kind of late afternoon on the West Coast, right? Pacific time. So guys in chat, let us know if you're from the Pacific Coast, because that's kind of the audience that we're trying to sort of. You guys have never seen me live before, and that's the kind of bad thing about it. And a lot of the Australians on the east coast of Australia are also in the same position as well. So that's why you can see Dazza in his bedroom. He's from the east coast of Australia, and I think it's about lunchtime there. Just if we can get the times right. Now I think we're still having streaming issues. I don't even know what the hell's going on. I'm going to have to ring up every single ISP and complain, I think. But we shall persevere. Right, guys, big hello to, we'll start with Dazza. How are you, mate? Have you got audio yet? No? We'll come back to you when you get your audio working. He's got no audio. Big early you, Ken.
Hey, I'm happy to be on as always, and hello to everybody in a different time area thing. Yeah.
Yeah, space, time zone, travel. Beautiful.
Space-time magic. We're all here.
And big hello to you, Will. Thanks for joining us, matey.
Hello. Let's see if we can find anything good in here. I don't know. Where are we? Oh well,
these-
I tried.
Look at these
What's up?
camera tricks.
Oh, you're using. You got your your camera controller set up.
Oh, the
I didn't
tricks.
set mine
Yeah.
up, man.
The tricks,
I
man.
got this little guy. Yeah, yeah.
It's like
yeah.
mission
Gotta have
control in
everything.
there.
It is. I'm ready to go.
Fantastic. Well, we kind of set a topic this week for VSTs, which is kind of a weird thing for me, as you guys probably know, and also probably for Ken and for Will. We're all kind of hardware guys, but we have to be honest. We do use computers for various reasons, and even if we do use VSTs, I mean, in my case, I use them for like effects and sort of post, production, mixing, mastering, and that sort of stuff. So that's what the VST world is for me. And sometimes I do use a synth or two, so it's not unheard of. I'm not going to rubbish the whole thing. What about you guys? Are you guys VST guys at all? Ken, are you at all interested in VSTs?
I would say that I'm a fairly big VST guy, but my usage over the years of them has changed drastically. How I use them is very different now as to how I used them maybe 5 years ago. But I love VSTs. Like, I'm a big hardware fanatic as well, but man, anybody who's like, oh yeah, this synth sounds like a VST, I'm like, oh really? Let me get that synth then, because there's a lot of great sounding VSTs out there. Yeah, I am not a snob when it comes to that kind of stuff at all.
Yeah, that's awesome. What would kind of be a go-to VST for you?
I'm gonna say like that. So just to be very clear, like I realize what I'm about to say is kind of cliche, whatever. Yeah, Omnisphere is gonna be the top of the list for me because it kind of does everything that I really want, like all in this beautiful package of you have samples, you have lots of different types of synthesis in there, and then you can layer them. But the thing about it is like the samples that are in there, I highly respect all the sound designers that work with Spectrasonics. And man, like that sample library it's old. Like if you really look at what's in Omnisphere, it goes back like a long, long time. Like that sample library didn't start, in just a few years. Like it's decades old. Like, I mean, you go back to Atmosphere and before that even. Those sample sets are just, I really, really enjoy them. And then you add on to them with the newer stuff from like Diego Stocco and those guys. I love that stuff. I absolutely love it. And then you just kind of layer things. So I would say for that kind of thing, I really like Omnisphere a lot, and I also really like Pigments from Arturia, which again, that I feel like that one kind of gets back to the whole like how I use things has kind of evolved, because previously I would be way like I'm really big into Reactor, and I love building my own anything. I don't care if it's an effect, a VST, like synth, like whatever it is. Like I love tweaking things myself. I'm not a C+ coder or anything like that, but I can take the building blocks and I can make my own things, whatever. That's what I love about modular. That's what I love about things like Reactor. But the way that my usage has kind of evolved over the years, I still use Reactor, but a lot of the stuff that I was doing in Reactor, I now do in my modular, and certain outboard effects that I have. But Pigments is really cool because it gives me a lot of like these flexible things that I like to do, but it gives it to you in a package that's really easy to use. Like there's other synths that might be as powerful, if not more powerful, in certain aspects, but none of them tend to be as easy to use and well laid out, in my opinion. So that's one of the top ones for me now.
Right, beautiful. Okay, and Dazza, is your audio working?
How's this, mate? Can you hear that?
We
Is that
can.
coming through?
Let's get you
All
to
right.
say hello and g'day from Australia and part
G'day
of the
from
world.
Australia. It's midday here. I've just got back from a conscious dance class, so we've been pumped up, sort of dancing around the room like idiots and feeling really good. And I had to skip the end of it just to get here on time to do this, and really good to hear Ken talking there. I've got a completely different approach to VSTs. I used to be heavy into Cakewalk back in the day when software was all I could own. Like I got into every plugin up to Zeta 2. There's Zeta, what they call it, Zeta plus 2. It's got a 3 in there. The way they spell it's really odd. And then I got into hardware, and with hardware, I don't want to spend that time at the computer editing and pushing a mouse around. Trying to make music with a mouse, I found that really frustrating. That's the reason why I use hardware and could just jam it out. But I still rely on plugins. We still need to do mastering and mixing and EQ, and that's all done in Cubase for me.
Right.
So I have this. It's interesting to hear Ken talking about the latest sort of Omnisphere and so on, which I'm not involved in. I don't use them. I don't sit at the computer using a soft synth. If there was one I'd use, it would. I've always meant to try. Is it Massive or the one that the Dead Mouse made? What's that one? Really, really popular. The
Serum?
Serum, that's the one. Yeah. And I haven't made time for those because I've been doing the hardware adventure. So my routine at the moment, I'm not even using the full version of Cubase. I'm using AI, and if I need something extra, I use a third-party plugin. So I go and look for the cheapest, the free. I don't mean the cheapest, but the best quality free plugins for reverb and delay. And if I need something, I add it in. So it's a very sparse VST folder in my Cubase compared to what I used to have, where I used to just load up with everything I could get a hold of, and whether I was using it or not, it just stayed there. Loading up the computer.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And over to Will now. Now I know Will's a big hardware guy, but there's got to be some VSTs you use, surely.
I'm about to spoil the parade. I'm sorry. I don't own a single VST.
Wow, this is awesome. This is why I got you on the show. I kind of knew that. So tell us why that is.
I have nothing against anybody that uses software. I have nothing against plugins. I think they're awesome. I'm a tactile person, and I'm a sound designer at heart, and I just like to have everything within the palm of my hands. Everything's mixed and mastered right in the box, everything. So I use different equipment for different parts of my tracks, and I combine them in unique ways. And I've just released a couple, just new to kind of, composing, really. I'm just a sound designer, kind of turned into a pseudo producer. But I got some good stuff out right now, and it's all just within the box. Build your drum breaks using the drums on a separate drum track, stem them out, use the modular. Just EQ the heck out of stuff and put your modular effects on stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty old school as far as like workflow. I use a lot of resampling techniques. Yeah, I'm just kind of like I'm really into using as little as possible to make things sound like you've used a lot, basically. So yeah, I don't use a computer for anything except for a Google Drive, so I can send files.
Right, fantastic. Well, that's actually really cool because it's going to give us all a bit of a different perspective, and I love that. I love that about the world. We've all got different perspectives on things, and like you said, nobody's wrong or nobody's right. It's just how you decide that you want to play your part of the game, isn't it?
Great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's say hello quickly
I just want to clarify that I'm always right. Always right.
Yes, well, I mean, just ask yourself.
We're all in agreement.
We're going to say hello to the chatties who have been patiently waiting and watching in the stream. So big hello to everyone who's joined us today. There's a lot of people who have stayed up late in the UK and parts of Europe. So I don't know what the hell you guys are doing. Maybe it's a bit of insomnia or something. Inverted Popes is there. Andrew Brooks, JX3D. All those guys were on the other show Fantastic to see you. Foxy Nirvana, good to see you, mate. Apis Lapis, excellent to see you, buddy. And I hope this time zone suits you because I know you're on the, if I remember rightly, I think you're in the west coast of the US. Synth Addict's there, and I think he's also someone from that part of the world too. I'm not sure, I can't remember. Truth Seeker, big hello to you. And then, yeah, we've got a few more that have popped in. Marcus, who's from Greece, so that must be super late there. And yeah, I think we even saw Wagoo there too. I think he's from the middle part of Europe. So Native
Thanks for
VS.
staying up.
Yeah, Sonic Link stuff is there as well. So big hello to everyone that's in the chat. That's pretty cool. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do our normal segments that, because I want the US and the Australians to see what we normally do on our show. And we'll start off with trying to maybe get a bit of humour into it. So this is a repeat of what we showed last night, so that way I don't have to go and find a whole bunch more stuff, but hope you enjoy it. So this one I thought was quite funny. This one was sent in by JX3D actually. If car enthusiasts were like synth enthusiasts, and it's probably going to be a bit hard to read, but basically this guy's talking about the Ford Pinto, one of the greatest cars in history, because Mario Andretti used to actually own one of these and often used to pick up his groceries in it. And then this guy on the right says, well, what's so great about it? I mean, wasn't the Pinto a kind of bland economic sort of car that had a fair amount of functional issues? It's like, ha, not much of a car enthusiast, are you? And then he's going, well, tell me what, there is something really special about this car. Did it have some sort of great feature? He goes, no, I already told you, Mario Andretti used to own one. And so this is kind of like our sort of reference to sort of buying some really, really crap synths because someone used it somewhere once on an album. Yeah. So I think it was a good one. That's a really, really good one. All right, moving right along, we have this one, which I think Dazzle would love. So there's your reference track. There's the there's a Sydney Opera House. There's your track. The dishes. Well, I mean, it's a bit sad because music industry right now is probably doing dishes to support themselves. So yeah, bit of a tear down my cheek. Actually, speaking of tears down your cheek, we've also got this one. Speaking of plugins, look, a shooting star. I want plugins to work on, well, let's say Big Sur now, because I think that one's getting a bit old, isn't it, Catalina? I want my plugins to work on Big Sur. I want my plugins. Did a U-turn. Yeah, did a U-turn. And there's a tear rolling down his cheek. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. I want my plugins to work on Apple Silicon. According to NASA scientists, you could fit over 1 trillion Korg Volkers into Uranus. Yeah, I don't know what people are doing on the internet, but apparently Volkers and Uranus, I'm sort of, guys, can you explain it to me? I'm struggling with this Volkers.
I'm not going to explain it to you.
It's just weird,
I'm not
going
to explain it to you. No, if you don't get it, I'm not going to explain it to you.
Yeah, we have to get Jim on the show.
Explaining it ruins the joke, sir. No.
That was NASA misinformation, just leading you astray, by the way.
Well, I tell you, that's one planet that I don't really want to travel to. I mean, who wants to travel to Uranus? But speaking of which, we actually have some news. Yay! Yes, there is a bit of news. Now, the first bit of news I think was quite interesting. It's kind of interesting for two reasons. Number one is it's good to see Tom still cracking some synths out, and we love Tom. He's going to be bringing out this baby again, the TVS Pro Special. Now, I love the SEM voice. I think the SEM voice is pretty cool. And I think all of you would agree it's got a kind of magical sound to it. But just have a look at his website. This is the Tom Oberheim website. I mean, the last entry is him saying, yes, I'm going to be bringing out a special edition of the TVS. I think he originally did these in 2016. It says 2018 there, I don't know why. But a good thing about it is he's going to put the Oberheim badge on it, and I believe he's going to personally sign each of them. So that might be a cool thing. Let's refer to that. Let's refer to that car graphic that we were talking to before. No, just kidding. Now, we are going all the way back to his product history, which I find absolutely amazing. Like, he started making stuff before I was born, and I think that is absolutely super cool. and he's still doing it. Look at that. It just goes and goes and goes. And you can see the SEM history is just a really big, strong, solid influence on a lot of his synth design. I mean, look at that the drum machine. And,
It's actually a really
Never
nice nice layout to read that. Like
Yeah.
I highly recommend if people are watching this show, you should go read that just because you're obviously a nerd and you love this stuff. So just go read that because it is really it's just a nice walk through that timeline.
I said 2016. There you go. 2015 was the first TVS Pro. There you go. So I wasn't far off.
Yeah.
And
To use such quality parts, you know, that's what's special about that stuff, the quality.
yeah. But
That's literally what got me into modular. Like was the SEM, and at the time they were just so absurdly expensive because he didn't have those. You know, this was back in 2011,
$3,000,
2012.
right?
And I wanted that, so there were people cloning those circuits in modular. So that was like the thing that got me into modular was that, you know, I wanted both a SEM and a Model D, and I didn't have the money for it, so I went modular first. And this is back when
the
it was
Boomstar?
like, you know. No, well, this was before that, but yeah, I did end up getting a Boomstar one as well, which I kind of feel like filter-wise, those were my favorite as far as the recreation filters. They just sound
What do you got?
absolutely stunning.
Oh, just because you're talking about Boomstar Studio Electronics, great company.
That's the
okay.
add-on
That's-
box for the that's the
SEO
add-on
too.
box, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, their filters are amazing. The oscillator section I think is the same through each of the different Boomstars. But yeah, I mean, I was actually there when they introduced Tom Oberheim to their Boomstar SEM, and I got to like converse with all three of them.
Oh wow.
And yeah, like Tom is a great dude, man. Like he's one of the guys that like I haven't interviewed him for the Synth Summit show, and I've been a little bit scared to try to do it because you know, when we do live interviews like we're all doing right now, or live shows like we're doing right now, there is a bit of setup behind the scenes that you need to get things working right and all, and that can be a bit of a chore if people aren't already versed in that stuff. But I've interviewed him in person, and he was like, I've got like maybe 5 or 6 standout interviews in person to me that are like my favorites, and that was one of them. Like Tom Oberheim is like,
That's great.
that dude has so much personality. Like,
Oh,
my God.
he's loved.
fucking-
He's loved by everybody. That guy, and it's like you
Dave
know.
Smith too.
Yeah,
I mean, these guys are
both of them.
legends.
Yeah. Go for it, Will.
I'll just say these guys are legends. You know, I own Dave Smith stuff because it's quality. You know, you don't get the type of quality that you get in a Dave Smith, or you know, I don't own. I would love to own something from Oberheim. I would love to have OB6, even though it's not really an Oberheim. I'd love to have it because it's kind of, I think it's going to be a really unique piece in 10 or 20 years. People are going to be saying, you know, remember that? Yeah, they're going to be like, you know, the collaboration that they did. It's like, yeah, I need that in my life. You know, I've got the Prophet 6, I've got the Rev 2 16 voice, and I won't really get rid of those for anything just because it's the quality build. I mean,
Well, there it is there
folks, you've got
on his website.
the Prophet 5, correct?
Say
Prophet
again?
5. Yep.
Flux got the Prophet 5, correct?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's right here.
Yeah. Those are beautiful.
I feel like as far as this website thing, because obviously, Rancy, you're spooling us up here to talk about this, right?
Oh yeah.
So we might as well talk about it. But I want to I just want to speculate without any inside information on that specific situation. I want to speculate on a couple of things that I would be excited about. Okay, so obviously, so Tom Oberheim has Marion Systems, right? Because he didn't own his own name anymore, right? And whether or not you guys want to get into the specifics on that, we can talk about that or not. But the bottom line is that at the time he didn't have access to his name and his IP really, like he didn't have his logo and all that. So he did Marion Systems, which was that two voice pro and the standalone SEM Pro and all that stuff. which are really great, cool systems. He was gearing up to do Eurorack modular and a bunch of other things, and actually showed them at NAMM and everything. And that goes back to like how I said, we were interviewing him and everything. And one of those interviews is actually up on my YouTube channel as well. Worth watching because it's pretty funny. But the thing about it is like he's older and he doesn't really have the energy and everything to really keep producing products in the way that he used to do. And it does take a lot of energy to put out products, especially if you're a very small company and that sort of thing. And that's what's great about what the combination between him and Dave Smith has been, is it's enabled us all to get access to his products, his sound, via Dave Smith, which is great. I have zero issue with that. I hope that continues, and that's where the speculation comes in, because
Okay.
I don't think that so the 2 Voice Pro that he's releasing now, I think that's going to be an extremely limited run, if anything. And I feel like I just feel it in my bones. I don't know anything about this. This is just my speculation. I feel it in my bones that if anything, Dave is probably helping with that and getting these things going. I would love to talk to Dave more specifically about it and find out if they have like a deal together or anything. But I know that they've worked together on a lot of other things outside of just the OB6. I really hope, because there was a trademark or whatever filing, I'm not a lawyer, whatever, we'll leave that up to Jim. There was a filing by Dave Smith for, I believe, the OBX name. And if that's the case, we could definitely see, kind of Dave Smith's sequential company taking on board OB-related, Oberheim-related products moving forward, which would be awesome. Like an OBX from Oberheim or from Dave Smith, like that would be really, really cool. And it would have the goodwill of Tom, moving forward with that.
Now, I've got some.
That would just be brilliant.
I've got some news about that. So let's. I don't know if you've been watching or listening or viewing the interwebs, but we all kind of know that there was another trademark that was submitted by a company that starts with the letter B, and that was denied. Big fat hand in the face. And that's actually really cool because it's kind of the first time we've seen. The history legacy owners of these products, and then some other company coming in and sort of trying to take over the name and the the goodwill. And I think these companies that are into the cloning, they should just come up with their own name. If they want to copy circuits and all sorts of stuff and they're allowed to legally, don't copy the name, because I think that's kind of that's really shitting on someone, I believe anyway. So it's good to see that happened. What do you guys think?
I'm curious. I mean, I'm curious from Flux. Like, don't you think that could be a Tempest type situation, like a remake on the Tempest or something? I mean, that
well, I
Tempest
mean, he doesn't need Tom to do another Tempest. I mean, I've been reading the Dave Smith forums as far as Tempest is concerned, and there's been some interesting questions from Dave Smith and company on their forums, which leads me to speculate. But beyond that, I won't really go down that path. But what I will say is that as far as like the name thing, right? And I'm not even going to mention the other company or whatever so much. But what I will say is this, right? It's been interesting. There's been a thing going forward. It was Yamaha, I believe. Was it Yamaha or Korg? I'm sorry.
Well, Yamaha had the sequential name.
Yamaha. It was Yamaha. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So it was Yamaha who did goodwill and gave the name back to Dave.
Yep.
The sequential brand, which made sense. It was a good thing to do. It was awesome. At the bottom line, they didn't have to do that, right? But they did it. And they also were not in a position, in my opinion at least, not that I can think of, where they were in a publicity bad situation. You know what I mean? Now, this is where it gets interesting, because with Gibson, right? Gibson owned the Oberheim name. They paid for the Oberheim name. They owned it fair and square. It was their name, right?
Yeah.
Which he also, if you scroll back through that thing, you'll
Yeah, it's
see
on there.
like the
Yeah, yeah.
Maestro stuff. He was actually working with Gibson on that stuff. Like that was like the Maestro effects and all. That was like guitar effects.
It's like
I've
20
actually
years.
got access to some of that original stuff, and it's really, really cool effects. But that Maestro stuff was like Gibson, you know. So I believe Gibson owned the Maestro name as well. So here's the thing. Gibson has been like, if you don't follow guitars and that sort of thing, Gibson has been getting like a lot of publicity for a long time now. And they recently came under, I believe it's like new ownership or whatever. They were basically going bankrupt. New ownership came in, and it was like, hey, they're gonna kind of not rebrand, but you know, change the morale of the company and get things right. And then they started doing things like suing independent guitar makers for doing Les Paul body styles on their guitars. Which, I mean, just saying that out loud, you're like, wait, the shape of the guitar? Yeah, the shape of the guitar. They were suing over that. And that garnered even more negative publicity and ill will in the community. So then they gave the name back to Tom, right? And this was, you know, a lot of people felt like they were trying to kind of wash away some of this negative vibe. And they did a couple of videos on the guitar side, and it just kind of felt like they were a little bit in damage control and just trying to do the right things for the community. Problem is that the Oberheim name, they hadn't used it, so it had gone defunct, right? So now you're in this situation where we're dealing with legal battles that the legality of the name is different in different territories, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So while they may have been denied in America, they may not be denied in Germany, which I believe they weren't, right?
They weren't, no.
So how this affects those products going forward, the question is whether or not they're going to, you know, this other company would do multiple brands of it, like maybe do, like in Europe and whatnot, do an Oberheim brand, and then in America just take that badge off and do something else, or if they're going to keep it, you know, one badge all the way across. My personal opinion is that brand could use some goodwill, and they would be absurd to not just like do the right thing and give the name to Tom. Because it's his name, like, and no one thinks otherwise. No one is of the mindset that it's actually related to Tom if you're doing these things without him.
Yeah.
Like this isn't the 80s where it was hard to find this stuff out, you know? This is public knowledge for anybody who has access to any kind of social media. So for me, it's just like, look, man, do the right thing. But we haven't seen any steps towards that yet, you know?
Well, if you look, we talked about studio electronics, didn't we, before? And they didn't call it the Oberheim, you know, their module. They called it the Boomstar, and it was a whole bunch of letters and numbers, right? So they had a bit of, and they also gave Tom a nod and, you know, a wink and a handshake. So it was done with love, and it was done with respect. So I just think if you're gonna sort of, I mean, there is a saying that if you copy someone, it is a form of flattery. But I think that there's an ethical way to copy, and I think Keenan's hit on it. Now I do want to move on because we have two other bits of news. So let's go to this one because we are talking about VSTs today, and yes, Roland are really getting heavily into the VST market, and one of the things that I think everyone who does kind of sort of float the software side of the world would love to know this, that people will sort of say, why doesn't Roland make a lot of their digital synths into VSTs? Because they're just digital at the end of the day. And guess what? They are. And this is really, really good news. Now, I think they've done D50s and all that sort of stuff already. This one's the JD800. And I don't know if you guys would agree with me, but I think this is probably one of the better digital synths that they ever made, and you can just see by the graphic there, because there's hardly any menu diving in that synth. It's a lot of sliders and pots and knobs and controls on that. It's a really great synth to play. It's a really great synth to use. It actually sounded pretty good for its day. It's early 90s stuff. Now the good news is that they've brought this one out as a VST, and I've got it here. If
Nice.
I can take that
That
graphic.
JD 800 VST UI looks pretty to me. Like I like it.
It does. It's amazing looking. I love that.
Here we go.
Looks like my rack.
There we go. Look at that. There it is.
Yeah, I
there.
like that.
And in fact, we can even listen to it.
It looks vintage.
Nope, can't hear it.
We can't hear it
I
because
can hear it.
Try again.
we can't hear it because.
Nope, try again.
Because,
I hear it coming through your mic.
Because. Here we go. Let's try it again.
There we go.
So that is what it looks like. Now, we worked out last night when I was playing around with this on the other show that it seems to be there's an update due to come on this. So because on the video that they showed, there was definitely some partial editing that you could do on this, and you can kind of get hints to it with the screen here. See how it's got partial 1, and there's this utility button, but you can't actually edit the partials. You can only copy and paste. But on the video, it showed you could edit, and I'll show you what I mean. If you go into the if you go into the standard Zencore sort of factory patches like this, right, and then you go into the edit mode, and then you go into Pro Edit, you can see all your 4 partials, and then you can actually muck around. And this is the kind of really cool part of that whole. It kind of starts with that linear LA synthesis type sort of stuff that Roland did with the D50, but this partial editing, it's cool. You can really get yourself into that sort of that sound that you've always wanted. So anyway, it's good news, and I think if you already are a subscriber to the Roland Cloud, even if you've just got the basic core subscription, which is only about a couple of bucks a month, you will actually get the JD 800, and I think that's good. It sounds, in my ears, it sounds exactly the same. So, in fact, we did a little A/B test on the stream last night. I'll probably do it again if we've got time, where we were comparing a D50, a real D50, to a Roland Cloud D50, and people weren't getting it. I mean, obviously YouTube compression and stuff aside, but yeah. So this stuff is really good quality. Anyone want to make a quick comment about the JD 800?
Does
About you,
anybody
Dazza?
else in here have Roland Cloud?
Yeah, let us know in the chat. I do, obviously. Dazza, I just want to get you. I want to get Dazza because he's a bit of a Roland guy.
Obviously, Ken's really knowledgeable there, and it's good listening to him with this information. I'm not really wanting to spend my time sitting and pushing faders around with a mouse. If there was a way you could have an external controller, that'd be great.
Oh, someone will build one. Don't worry.
Yeah, the advances and the variety of the software plugins is amazing. But I just love having stuff in front of me. I like the character of these machines and the limitations. Yeah.
Yep. Fair enough.
I could add to that.
Yeah.
I could add to that. You could very easily map those knobs right to that, I'm sure. So all those knobs on your push and all that, you could probably very easily through Ableton just map that, and then you'd have the control all right there, no mouse.
Yeah. So let's just quickly show that because he's right. So if you right click on it, there's your learn. So there you go. Definitely possible, guys. You could just get yourself
Can I bring something up?
Yeah.
Just because we're talking VSTs, and this actually, I saw it when it first came out, or was first set up for like Kickstarter, and then I was reminded of it very recently. And I don't have one, but I want one really bad. Let me see here. How do I share my screen?
Is that touch screen thing?
I don't know if it's actually touch screen, but
it's got the little knobs that you can place over the top of it, and they
No. Actually, that's not for me, man. Like I don't like that because that's going to be just as laggy as a touchscreen. So to me,
all right,
that doesn't do it for me.
I'm glad you're not going to
toggle screen sharing. Hold on, let me pull this up. I have not used this, but I've heard good things, and I've kind of been skulking in their forum, in their user forum, to see how people are getting along with it. Let me show you this. So this is
oh yeah, I've seen
what is it called again? The Electro One MIDI controller, and I'm on Synth Anatomy right now, which by the way, I fully support Synth Anatomy. So
yeah.
Tom is a great dude.
Tom is cool,
and yeah, he's a really fun guy. So,
it's got you can label the knobs, right?
So yeah, what's cool about this is you can do full NRPN, you can do all kinds of good stuff. You know, and you can everything can have its own like label on the screen, and all that good stuff, and you can control like a ton of stuff. Plus it's got USB host, all the stuff. I do not have one. I have no affiliation with this company. I'm just saying I want one, and I very likely will end up buying one of these. I think it's like $450 or something, but they're completely sold out right now. It says €399 euros. I think they're like $450 US. But they're totally sold out right now as well, which is also why I don't have one. But
that could get
I just had to show
right
this
there.
because to me, one of the biggest problems that I have with VSTs is I echo Dazza in that I'm a very tactile person. I want to just, I want to have hands-on of whatever I'm controlling. I want to physically manipulate things, tactile response, all that goodness. And that kind of gets you there in a much quicker way. You can save tons of templates. All of the VSTs that I tend to use, I save templates on my Hydrosynth of where my macro knobs are like mapped out to different things. And really not even just Hydrosynth, like any synth that I have, like I try to like set up a preset where I can control it quickly from that. But for me, the way like Machine, Push, Hydrosynth, the Novation SL, they all get one thing really, really, really right, and that is knobs with a value display on them. So endless encoders with a value display, and it tells you what that knob is paramount to working with VSTs to me. So for me, it's like, map it to something like that, and you're just good to go. It feels like hardware at that point.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. I'm just conscious of time, and I love. Don't stop the discussions. I love it, but I just want to get through the last news article, which is kind of unrelated, which is not a bad thing to do. You guys might remember me having a bit of a rant a few months ago about getting copyright claims on doing basic synth demonstrations. And this affects, all of us here that are actually on the video side of things are all YouTubers, and there's a lot of YouTubers in the chat as well. You guys probably know about this. We had the FFS hashtag campaign running through February, which stood for February Filter Sweep. And funnily enough, when we all did our February filter sweeps, a lot of us got copyright claims on our and our videos that were kind of, a big middle finger up to the YouTube algorithm. So here's an example of a graphic that I took yesterday, and it was showing that it expires, it just says video monetized being held, dispute expires today. And about an hour or two later, that just disappeared off of my channel, that whole graphic. And obviously they didn't refute my claim, my counterclaim or anything. So nothing that happened with me that obviously didn't affect my channel or anything. But I guess the problem is not really to do with, whether this is no big deal, and you might think to yourself, oh, it's no big deal. But it's actually more to do with the fact that this is disruptive to us as YouTubers. And I've started a petition now because I'm getting kind of a bit annoyed with this whole thing. And I kind of just wanted to show you guys. I'll paste the link to the petition in the chat. I'll do that now before I start quickly talking about it. I'll just copy the link. You don't have to sign, but I think if you feel strongly about this sort of stuff, you will. So basically, yeah, I am counting on you. But basically, I just wanted to sort of read to you what it kind of poses a few issues to us as YouTubers. The original video maker does not get an instant right of reply or rebuttal. Instead, what happens is a protracted 30-day affair where both parties submit their claims, and then that 30 days has to time out. In that 30 days, the video performance is hindered by way of differings dependent upon the copyright claim. In some cases, it can be blocked, demonetized. Now, all of these things are actually really important things. If your video is blocked, that means people aren't getting to see it. Demonetized may not be as important because you might earn 5 cents on it, big deal, but in some people, they earn lots of money on their videos. And the other one is, and I think the most important one, is the standard video algorithm. When your video is first released, everybody knows the first half a day of the life of a video is extremely important with the way the algorithm works. That performance is hindered, or can be hindered, I should say, not is. And as a result, the video doesn't reach its potential audience correctly, and the whole purpose of content creation therefore becomes non-beneficial. And then we kind of become a little bit depressed about the whole reason why we're actually creating videos in the first place, especially if we've got excitement and love of showing how something like a bit of hardware or a synth or even software, how it works and why we like it, and not, you know, that's only kind of part of it. But anyway, what we actually want is we want YouTube to and Google to actually have another look at this algorithm. And the reason why we want them to have a look at it is because we believe the music distributors and the music record companies are actually exploiting this algorithm. And how they're doing it is they're getting a few cents off of you, Ken, they're getting a few cents off of me, and they're doing it in the thousands. And that then starts to add up, and it actually is financially beneficial to them because the algorithm works in their favor. And if we're not aware of this, if we're not smart, we're just going to let it happen. If we don't know what to do, if we're just a new YouTuber that doesn't know what to do, then that little bit of money is trickling into someone else's pocket, which is absolutely stupid, I think. Anyway, so there's my little rant. If you do want to sign the petition, it's there. It's a really easy one to remember. It's change.org/filter sweep. It also goes to a nod and a wink to the guitarists because they're in exactly the same position. I've got friends who are guitarists, and they're also synth friends of mine as well. They have the same issue. They buy a new guitar. They have the same sort of gear lust that we have over hardware, right? And they do a YouTube video and show their guitar off, and before you know it, there's a copyright claim against something that has nothing to do with the original artist's song. It's just pure, very, very loose resemblance, and it's just stupid. Anyway, just a quick comment from anyone who wants to let us know if they've actually experienced this themselves, because I haven't really tapped into the US and the Australian part of it. A lot of the UK people have been sharing the love. What about you, Will? Have you ever had a copyright claim?
I have had what are they called, warnings or whatever.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of them. I do a lot of sampling. Like I buy records and just let them fly. So I'm surprised I haven't gotten more. But I get a lot of my stuff from like Japan and stuff like that. So maybe it's not like completely cataloged, but yeah, I think I've made out pretty good. The only one that was really sketchy was I actually sampled Styx Renegade, if anybody's familiar.
Yeah.
And I did
That's
get like my thing up. Yeah, that thing got pulled, and then after a while it went back up. So I never set out on my channel for monetization, even though I got to 1,000 subscribers and whatever. I'm just here for the community aspect of it, just to keep me sane, pretty much. Find other nerds.
So this is more to do with, it's probably not, I don't really want to ever change the rights of musicians. And if you've actually come up with something original, that needs to be preserved. So this is actually a bit of a fine line here. What it actually is more to do with is if I'm actually just grabbing a synth and I'm just showing how the filter works, or if I'm demonstrating the LFO on an oscillator. Do you know what I mean? That sort of basic, sort of bare metal stuff. That should never, ever be copyright claimed. Just because someone's got a segment.
Are you trying to say that you're not making beautiful music when you're filter mouthing away?
No, exactly.
This right here. Wow. Wow.
That's Carlos right there.
That should be platinum.
That should be, yeah. All right, guys, now we're running out of time. I am going to quickly just run through the last segment, which is, I'll just go through it real quick. It's the couple of interesting prices that came up during the week. And waiting for that to finish. There it goes, beautiful. This one I thought was interesting. This came in from Keith, and he shared this listing where it was a Maplin 5600S. Now, I don't know if you guys remember back in the late 70s or early 80s or something, they used to do these tech type magazines, electronic type magazines, and you could actually build a synth, and it was one of those get the next month's issue, and you know what I mean, that sort of affair. And they were kind of popular in those days. Anyway, these things were pretty basic to say the least, but I don't know if it's £2,000 worth to get one of these. I don't know. Maybe someone might want to collect it, but these are always interesting to find these. So thanks, Keith, for sending it in. It's always good to have people who like to send stuff in because it makes my job easier. He's also sent in this one. Do you guys remember the Gen Electronica SX1000? Yes, a rare vintage Italian analog synth. It is a mono synth. I don't know if it's that rare, if I'm honest. That one's got a little bit of key decay on it, tooth decay. So I don't know if I'd spend, but it is 25% off. Hey, you know, that's always good. So yeah, yeah. Look, you'd probably find that that one probably is kind of related to that car joke that we said earlier as well. What else would you got? So this was me on reverb on my phone one day when I was bored. And hey, Ken, I found a Hammond organ here. And this one was owned by Rick. So nice. 46,000 Australian dollars. Halve that in pounds.
That's
and
a steal.
Oh, yeah. I'm just going to get my big
for
fat
someone.
credit card out.
It's a steal for someone.
It's a steal for someone, yeah. Whoever's selling it, that's the steal. So yeah, beautiful. I don't know how much you want a Hammond organ. And while we're at it, I don't know how much you want a Model 12. Probably personally autographed by Robert Moog. These are actually a little bit rarer, but what we have to remember here is that Moog redid the Model 15, the Model 30, and the 50, I believe, and you know, they were not even at this price. And you know, this thing is nearly 50 years old. 1 year to go, and it's 50 years old. So would you be paying? I mean, you'd have to really, you know, this would have to be something that you really, really wanted to pay that sort of money for. And I guess that's kind of why these appear on the show. So, and then someone might argue, but you can get a VST for like 29 US, and you can do
that last one's kind of accurate, I think.
Yeah.
I could
maybe
pretty much guarantee I would not be paying that for a synth.
We could buy it, deposit on a house for that. I mean, that's kind of crazy, right?
How people are. Yeah, definitely. I could never spend that much money on a synth, but I don't have as much money as some people do. I might if I had it. So
yeah, you never know.
Who knows?
I mean, you could always take the private jet and pick it up by hand if you want. So, I mean, it depends on take the Lamborghini. Yeah, the Lambo.
I could have a wall of OB6 for that money.
You could, yeah you could. Look, I love the sound of the original Moog modular. I think there's some specialness to it, but I don't know if it's $40,000 Australian special. I could find other uses of that.
The
special.
Model 10. The Model 10 was what, like 15 grand or something like that.
Yeah.
When Moog redid it recently.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
The original though. 12.
That's still too much for me. I don't know. I'm gonna go off on a tangent. Just stop me now.
Well, we're gonna stream for about another 10 minutes, and then that's it. We'll finish for the day. But yeah, you can have a little tangent. Go for it.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, for me, like, if I'm spending that kind of money that these people are asking for a synth, I'm looking at things like that Analog Solutions Colossus.
Oh yeah.
There's some new stuff out there today that's just like will break your brain, and you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna have to widen my doorways to get this thing in, and it's worth it, you know, that kind of thing. I don't know. Those remakes are cool, but man, for that kind of price, I just look at some of the boutique stuff that you can get these days. I'm just like, wow, yeah. That's what I do. Real quick, back to the VST thing. I did want to bring up. So we were talking about the SEM, and I know that G-Force just dropped their 8 voice. Have any of you guys messed with that at all?
I've downloaded it, but because I've got myself
had a chance to play it.
Well, I just bought myself an Apple Mac M1 Silicon, and there'll
nothing's
be
working.
Some things are working. Well, I don't even want to go there because it'll be another show basically just talking about that crap.
Sure.
But so I haven't installed that yet, and I guess it would probably work. But I have heard that it's built mainly for the Intel, so that means I guess it's going to run as an emulated Rosetta type sort of affair, which is kind of beats the purpose of having
Have you tried?
Not yet. I haven't had a chance. I mean, literally yesterday, I only just managed to get my MX1 mixer connected up to the Mac. The Presonus mixer won't work. So there's a whole bunch of things that I can't get running on this yet.
I talked with Joe. Joe of soundsandgear.com is a good friend of mine, and he has an M1 Mac Mini, and he's been really pleased with the way that the Rosetta stuff has been working for him.
Oh, it's quick. Yeah.
So
it's quick.
he says it's really efficient and everything. So I would be interested in that because, frankly, I'm on a 2012 MacBook Pro Retina.
Yep.
And it's 16 gigs RAM. It was like the fastest processor you could put in it at the time, but it's only 512 SSD, and the battery's dead. Like, it's dead. If I pull the power plug out, it dies instantly. And that repair from a like, I'm the kind of guy who wants to just crack open my own gear and fix it. I don't want to do that repair, because I've watched a lot of videos on it and I've seen what it entails, and it's a little bit scary.
Oh, you got to get the heat gun out to take the battery out.
The heat gun, and
yeah.
if you puncture a battery, you got problems, and there's just a lot that can go wrong there, and it's really the only studio computer I have. I have a PC that's literally just for me testing like firmware updaters and prototype gear, stuff like that. I don't use it for production. So I'm waiting for the 16-inch M1 MacBook Pro to come out. When that drops, like, I'm gonna be buying one right away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not happy that I'm doing it. To be quite frankly, I'm like, I wish there wasn't this big crossover change.
Here's the weird thing, right? I mean, I'm in the same boat as you, Ken, and the logic probably flowed through my brain similar to you. The only reason why I kind of forced myself to buy one is because my previous Mac, which was also a Mac Mini, completely stopped working in 2012. And I mean, I'd turn it on and about 5 minutes later, it would just crash. And it just like, I've done everything. I've replaced the RAM, I've tried all the things to fix it, and yep, that's it. I needed to get a new one. But the thing that sort of stopped me from rushing out and getting it probably towards the end of last year, earlier this year, and why it took me a few months before now I got it, was what's the deal with the RAM? Like, I had 16 gig in 2012, and the most I could put in a Mac Mini is 16 gig. And I'm thinking, this is just weird. Like, why can't we have 32 or 64 or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, weird.
Just to be clear, I think you have a stronger understanding of computer science than I do. But what I will say is that from everything that I've been reading and trying to understand with my Neanderthal brain about this stuff, is that because it's shared memory, the way that it works, and because it's embedded in the actual chip and everything, is that it doesn't need as much RAM to do the same processes that the previous ones would need. So it's with like 8 gigs RAM, you can do what you used to do with 16 or more. Now, I've got friends doing video projects that previously they were using Mac Pros with a ton of RAM to get done, and they can do it on their Mac Minis with M1s, no problem. But here's the thing about that. From what I've been reading, there's also a reported issue of there being a lot of read-write like happening on, because it's all like this embedded memory that's shared in this way. People are worried that it means that memory is going to have a very short lifespan, and that worries me greatly, because you can't swap it out. We have. There's no repair on it. Now, there was recently a law, I think, that was passed, and again, I'm not a lawyer or anything, and I barely follow this stuff. I just happen to be geek enough to see it pop up in headlines. Apparently, there's a thing going on in the UK, I think it was, where they're saying that now electronics have to be able to be serviced for 10 years if they come out, right?
Wow.
This is like a new thing that just got passed. And that's in Europe. I mean, 10 years sounds like a while, but at the same time, it's not a while. It's better than nothing. Yeah. It's a whole lot better than nothing. There's certain laws as far as warranties and that sort of thing that in Europe, in my opinion, are much better than what we have in the U.S. I don't know what you Aussies have, but it makes me wonder what's really going to happen with like these M1 and these new Apple silicone chips. If they're really like burning through memory and it can't be replaced, that would be like a nightmare. I would hope that they would already think that through.
Yeah, I don't think it will be. But look, it's definitely a valid concern, but I don't think it will be. I think one of the things that we do know, and history will tell us this, go back all the way from the start, Apple do make good quality hardware. I don't think anyone would disagree with it. I think there's a few examples where they haven't, but I think the majority of the stuff that they've made over the 30, 40 years that I've been using Apple for, and I'm talking about all the way back to the Apple IIs that I used to use at school, they've always been good quality. So, like I said, there's a few examples where they haven't been, but the majority has been good. Now, one of the things in your country and in mine, because we're very similar, there's a thing called a statutory warranty, which is actually, if you were to take your complaint to your government's, business bureau or whatever you want to call it, you could actually fight that something should have, performed better than what it did. So everyone's got that sort of thing. So there's that. But Apple are also giving us 3-year warranties out of the bat. I mean, I know they've got the Apple Care that you can slap on as well, but I just recently had another, unrelated to the stuff I use, but it's my wife's MacBook from 2018. The battery got a big belly and the bottom of the laptop went bloop and it started rocking about. So we took it in and it was just under 3 years old, and they're replacing the whole thing for free. So they will honour that. They're pretty good. So
yeah, for sure. But it still does worry me though. Like it's something that I'm because I know that come August or whatever, there's going to be a new MacBook Pro, and I'm just waiting for the M1 because I'm not going to buy an Intel one right now. I'm like, this is the way forward. And listen, I'm not here for the PC versus Mac debate. I don't think one's better than the other. It's just that for what I do, it's the platform I'm just pot committed to at this point. You know what I mean? And it's just, I like how it works for the most part. I have my gripes with it, just like I have my gripes with Windows, but it's the platform that I'm on, it's where all my purchases are, and it would be absurd for me to even switch at this point. But that being said, eventually I'll probably do a PC just for video editing,
Does anyone think there's a difference in audio quality between Mac and PC?
I would say more.
I think it comes down to
when
your
it
card.
comes to latencies.
Yeah, it's more to do with performance, not to do with quality. It'll come down to the device you use. I mean, everyone will probably have a different mixer or audio interface, so that experience will be different for each person.
Yeah, I don't think it's an audio quality thing.
Nah, it'll be to do with, like
Mac
you said.
Mac and PC is kind of like Oberheim versus Dave Smith. They're both fantastic as long as you know how to use it. Get the most out of what you buy.
Yeah.
And I tell you, the bigger thing to me is like what software runs on PC versus what software runs on Mac and that kind of thing. Like a lot of the software that I really enjoy is on Mac only. That being said, there's a lot of really cool PC only stuff.
Well, I mean, this streaming software, for example, only runs on PC, and it kills and it kills the Mac competitor. So anyway,
I'm using is StreamYard for my streaming.
We are going to need to wrap up the show, guys, because I need to take my daughter to netball, which is a kind of. I don't know if you guys have had netball in the US. It's kind of similar to basketball, but yeah. It's
basketball for girls.
Basketball for girls. Yeah, that's a bit gender specific. We can't say that anymore, can we? Yeah.
I've got a strobe going on.
You can't bounce. Yeah.
Can I tell a story before we go?
Yeah, you can.
I meant to bring this up earlier. I made a meme. Sorry about my light flashing now. I don't know why. I made a meme during the week, and I used a random image off Google search. It's just a guy with his computers with his modular system in his room, and then I got a message from this guy, and I'm like, "Who's this guy? I don't know who this guy is." I did a search on him. Turns out it's the guy I used the photo of, and he said,
"Oh
man,
man,
friends since." It's been really good. No, he was happy with it because he's a performance artist and all this other stuff. He's really cool. We've become friends, but he was like, he said all my friends were sending me this photo to let me know. I thought I'd get in touch with you. I was like, better be a bit more careful next time. Anyway, thanks for letting me join in. Have a great week, guys.
Yeah, thanks very much for having you. In fact, we'll just do a quick round the table. Cheerios. Ken, thanks for joining us. And any plugs for you coming up with you? I know you got a fair bit going on.
I'm gonna do a live stream real soon, on like this weekend on my channel, but I don't know when. I'm not scheduling anything, so just if you go to my channel, you can click the reminder bell, and it'll tell you when I go live. But honestly, I don't know when I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do a live stream on patch building on the Hydrosynth, and I might do one on just general synth nerding and Q&A stuff.
Fantastic. Well, we'll be looking forward to that. I'll definitely watch it. And Will, I know you've been really busy with your, your beats and everything. So give us a little plug of what's going on there.
The Odd Pilot on Bandcamp. Come over, check it out. If you like it, buy it. If you don't. It's just me in the with a bunch of underground hip hop dudes. We got Mike Titan. We got Witchcraft. I got Doc Terror. So we got a bunch of cats all lacing my beats. So come on over, be a nerd. I'm making nerd glass emojis cool again.
Yeah,
Let's
cool,
go.
man.
Hey, I just want to say I'm glad to be on a show with Will as well, just because I've been following him on Instagram for a while, and real
Thanks,
cool
bro.
stuff over there. So I would definitely check out his Instagram.
Yeah.
One
Thanks,
really other small thing that I forgot about. So we dropped the Modbap compilation.
Dig
Dropped
in the
today.
wire.
Or no, it dropped yesterday.
Right.
So Digging in the Wires. Go check that out at beatpeople.com and on Bandcamp on there. But yeah,
Yes.
I will. What's your Instagram again?
I will create.
Yeah.
EYECREAT. So I will create. So just my name. But you know what? The Digging in the Wires also comes in vinyl. So go get the vinyl.
That's going to be probably like an 8-week lead time, I think. But
yeah.
pre-order
Good.
now.
Yeah, don't forget too that conversations do carry on during the week on Discord. So there's the Discord address. If you don't have Discord, one of the great things about Discord is that it doesn't bombard you with ads and other BS. It's literally just a nice place to put chat in. You can actually do audio and video on there as well. So bit.ly/Ramsey Discord, easy one to find. Join us. We do continue the chat during the week. And on that note, I will say Uru from Australia and everyone from the US. I don't know what your standard goodbye message is, but do it now and we'll hit the goodbye stinger. See ya.
Peace.
See you guys. Have a good week.
Thanks again.